statutes.
Ms. Blatt,
Sure.
assume I accept all of this, but I'm going to follow up on Justice Thomas's question. I have problems seeing immunity as subject matter jurisdiction. And assume I have that problem and say, there's jurisdiction, that still doesn't answer the immunity question. And if I go a step further, and for all the reasons that you gave, and say the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act is only about civil, and the waiver that's there is only about civil litigation. Every aspect of civil litigation has to go through the FSI, IA. So now I come down to your common law immunity question. If that's what remains for me, I've got 2 paragraphs in the Second Circuit decision. Both of them, and most of the paragraph assumes that it runs on, the common law immunity runs on the FSIA. But if I say the FSIA doesn't deal with criminal, that undercuts all the reasoning of the Second Circuit. What do I do then?
Well,
you want me to decide the question.
Yeah, but let me just start you back with Schooner Exchange. I mean, that is a Supreme Court case by Chief Justice Marshall that's on its face says you don't construe general jurisdictional statutes. It is a admiralty jurisdictional statute. It's in the very same Judiciary Act.
You're fighting my premises. So please don't fight my premises. Assuming that I disagree with you on the 2 aspects of the question presented, that it's not jurisdiction, that it's a common law immunity question.
Yeah, so if you thought that Congress authorized district courts to convict foreign states at the time of the founding, if you think that, and you think that a broad grant that's not limited to civil cases does not protect foreign sovereigns, and that Congress just didn't care about whether foreign sovereigns could be convicted, then all we have is immunity.
Ms. Blatt, please stop. It's not a question of not caring. It's a question of defining what the common law immunity is. The government gives us a lot of options. It says, yes, there's absolute immunity, and it appears to say it's absolute immunity from criminal prosecution if you're naming the state. I don't know how you name a state unless you just say the country of X, because it seems to exempt out all agencies and instrumentalities, and I don't know any government that doesn't act through agencies and instrumentalities. So it seems to go a step further and say, well, there's absolute immunity if those agencies and instrumentalities are doing sovereign acts. That begs a question here, because the little bit that I've seen about this case is that the government not only owns this bank, but that the government directs the activities of this bank, and that the bank is involved in sovereign activities because it collects taxes for the sovereign. It appears, or some of the allegation is, that it also engages in social services activities. And the allegations in the complaint say the government dictated what the bank was doing with respect to these transactions. The other side will have to answer that for me. Seems sovereign enough to me.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely correct.
Okay, it seems sovereign enough to me, but I don't know whether I should get there. Isn't this an issue that we should send back, given that the Second Circuit proceeded in its analysis from a series of assumptions that we would be disagreeing with?
So to get there, you'd have to say there's subject matter jurisdiction over sovereigns, instrumentalities, and agencies. So we're wrong on 13.2.1. The FSIA doesn't apply. And then, yes, you would say common law immunity is not uniformly in the hands of the prosecutor. And if I...
Well, they concede part of that.
Well, let me just hit on what you said. The indictment 10 places says the government of Türkiye committed a crime, and it did it through its bank. It 10 times accuses the head of a foreign state of committing a gazillion criminal acts and says, and you ran it through your bank, that you owned, operated, and that is an affiliate of the Ministry of Finance, and that the minister is as if Janet Yellen and the Department of Treasury committed a crime.